and welcome to the most boring man on YouTube. Well, it's race day at Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix. Really looking forward to it. It should be a cracker. So yeah, follow me through the start. We're not far away now. Big news, today's video is sponsored by Haas Shakedown. Smash burgers and waffles is what they sell in and around Manchester. If you're here, go check them out. And yeah, I'm still waiting for my cap from you guys. So let's see when that turns up. But definitely the place to eat if you're around Manchester for some food. So it's race day. What can we expect? We've got Max Verstappen up at the front with Charles Leclerc, two title rivals. Now at the start we've just heard from the team principal at Ferrari. He's saying that they're sort of going for a more conservative approach, which just seems a bit surprising. We thought they might go for a split strategy with both Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc second and third. But it looks like they're going for a conservative approach, looking for behind with the fast starting Mercedes with Lewis Hamilton in fourth. I think they're in for the win today. I'm going to put my neck on the line there early. Just based on what we've seen in Hungary, and this is a very similar track to that, and they are better on their tyres, especially when high deg tracks, and this looks like one of those because everyone's split between whether it's going to be a one stop or two stop. Let's see how it plays out. There's a bit of grey cloud up in the sky. Whether it rains or not, let's see. That'll be another element in the mix. And we've got George Russell starting from sixth. I imagine him to get up a few places. We've got Perez in the mix as well. Let's see how he fares, but he's generally been a lot off the pace this weekend, especially compared to Max. I think that's been the case for a little while now. But yeah, nearly at lights out. Really excited. Let's see what happens. So we're just lining up for the start of the Dutch Grand Prix. Formation lap has just been completed. Just the news on the tyres up at the front. The top three are wearing softs. Hamilton on hards. 4, 5 lights out, and away we go. Good start from Charles Leclerc. Nearly Max Verstappen had to chop right across him there at the front to keep him behind. So turn one. Oh, Lewis Hamilton with Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton nearly got up on the inside there, starting on the softs or to the mediums really, and tried to get past on Carlos Sainz, but just clipped the rear end of him there. Doesn't look like there's too much damage or any damage really at all, but it's as we are at the start. Max Verstappen got a green start. He's well ahead in the front, and then we've got the two Ferraris, Lewis Hamilton and Perez. No incidents really at the start there. George Russell has gone back a little bit. Norris has passed him. Looks like that probably happened down into turn one. Perez, and then we've got Perez is still in fifth, Norris sixth, Russell seventh, and then we've got a Lance Stroll up in eighth, Ocon ninth, so he's made a few places. Mick Schumacher's gone down to 10th, he started 8th, you remember. Yuki Tsunoda 11th, Gasly 12th, Alonso 13th, he stayed where he was. He's normally the mega starter here, as we've seen last year. And then we've got Zhu 14th, Magnus is 15th, Albon 16th, Ricciardo's made up a place into 17th, so good starts from the two McLarens there. Vettel 18th, Bottas 19th, and Latifi 20th. So we've got a few cars lining. Fernando's trying to parts flying down there, with Alonso trying to make a move on Pierre Gasly there at the front. So the gap at the front is 0.7 with Leclerc behind Max. Oh, and there's a car going wide. Oh, and he's clipped the barrier, and that is... Who is that? Looked like that would be Mick Schumacher because he's... Oh, Kevin Magnussen. Oh, he ran wide. Just couldn't hold the Haas in, and he has bumped the barrier there, but it does look like he's carrying on. I don't know if there'll be any suspension damage there to the rear left. So out in front we've got Max ahead of Leclerc. Is about 0.8 now. He's gaining a tenth on him up there. He's probably trying to get out the 1 second window for the DRS early on. That should start in the next lap, but it's crucial there for a Ferrari really that they stay within that DRS zone early on to try and put the pressure on. Hamilton is 1.5 behind Sainz, and that's the top three: Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton, Perez, and Norris 6th. And that's where we are on lap 3. We're already on lap 3. It's already felt like it's only just started. So yeah, let's see what happens as the strategies play out. So lap 15, we're just seeing the start of the first stops. It was pretty much as you were. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Hamilton seems the better driver with his tyres on the mediums. He was all over the back of Carlos Sainz, but just didn't have the pace to pass him. So lap 15, Carlos Sainz comes in, pits, but then so does Sergio Perez at the same time. So Sainz had to be held slightly, but then he had a really, really slow stop, did Carlos Sainz. I know there was an issue with the left rear. Unsure what's going on there. And then as Sergio Perez is coming out, he's driven over a gun. So unsure where that gun's come from. It's that a Ferrari gun that's just been left there. A strange position where that gun was that Perez has run over. But a really long stop for Carlos Sainz. He's 12 seconds in the pits there. So that should leave Lewis Hamilton free in for third place. No threat there now with any undercut from Carlos Sainz with the pits. Carlos Sainz was really holding Hamilton up there. He lost about 6 seconds to Sainz and Leclerc in second place, and I think he would have been right up there in the fight had he'd managed to get past Sainz at the start, because Sainz has just been really slow at the start here. Alonso has been main mover. He's made a couple of passes. He's passed both Alpha Tauris. He's up into 12th place. We've had a few stops from soft tyres coming back onto the mediums now, but we've still got the front runners in Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, both on the softs. Hamilton, Russell come next. They're both on the mediums. We've seen obviously Perez pit as well. He's gone from the softs onto the mediums. It does look like the mediums are the tyres to be on, especially with the deg here. Verstappen's reporting on lap 17 that tyres aren't too bad. Let's see how or when he decides to pit. And let's see what the pace of this Mercedes is now that he's got some free air with signs out the way. So we're on lap 36. We've seen the cars ahead all pit now. Mercedes went longer and they're onto the hards now. And we're just seeing Lewis Hamilton all over the back of Sergio Perez. And this is key now for him on lap 37 to make this pass quickly. Just to put the pressure on Max Verstappen for the lead at the front. The longer he stays behind Perez, he's losing time. And can't catch up to the back of Max Verstappen and put the pressure on. And now we're going down the front straight. Lewis Hamilton on the outside now. He's got DRS going in. He's made the pass now. Finally, he's made it into the turn one on the second time of trying. Perez did it on lap 36, but Perez sort of blocked up, sort of pushed Hamilton wide. But we've got a Aston Martin that's just decided to come out and absolutely. Don't know what he's doing, that car. Blocks Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes, and he's still not out of the way. I don't know what he's doing. Get out of the way, because it's allowing Sergio Perez another chance here. At the back of... I don't know who that was. I don't know what he was thinking he was doing. He's just come out of the pits. We've got blocked Hamilton massively there and gave Perez another chance of trying to get past Hamilton. It was a difficult one to try and get Perez to try and pass Lewis Hamilton there through turn 6. But yeah, that's where we're at. So it's an interesting battle. All drivers have now pitted once. Mercedes are both doing a one-stop strategy. They went from the mediums that they started on onto the hards, so that can see them through to the end of the race, and that'll be my one F1 rule for the race weekend that I'll explain to you at the end of this video. So we've seen Lewis Hamilton pitted on lap 29. George Russell pitted on lap 31. Both went for the hard tyres. Everybody ahead of him now is on the medium. So it's Max leading by Charles Leclerc and then Lewis Hamilton. Max's lead at the moment is about 19 seconds, but Lewis Hamilton was fast on them hards and really was closing the gap. It was down to about 16, 17 seconds. So Max Verstappen, if he comes out, he will come out behind Lewis Hamilton. It'll be a fight for the lead there. Let's see how close George Russell get. I mean, he's right up behind Lewis Hamilton, so he's also in the fight now. But if he comes out, if Max, I think he pretty much will have to pit. I don't see these mediums on that car going right to the end. It'll be a special one from Red Bull if they can pull that one up, but I just don't think they will, just to risk anything happening with the tyre on that medium. It doesn't just look like it's hard enough. Charles Leclerc also trying the same. They're going to move to another strategy there in second place at the moment, but I don't think they're in for the fight at all. Looking at where they are, they've gone for quite a conservative strategy. Carlos Sainz obviously struggled with that pits, lost a lot of time. He's now comfortably in 6th place, but he's 13 seconds behind George Russell. And Russell now going up to fight a Perez. Oh, look, easy move. Perez went to cover the inside, but Russell just made it easy around the outside. Fastest lap of the race now, 1:15.1 for Lewis Hamilton. George Russell is absolutely on it. He's now about 3 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. He came out behind about 6. And now let's see how this one pans out with the two Mercedes effectively in the fight for the win. I did say it, but let's see if they can pull it off. Max Verstappen is strong. We've seen that. He came out of the pits, past George Russell fairly easily. Lewis Hamilton pitted before he caught up to the back of him. They needed to do that just so, you know, Red Bull don't just pit, even though Verstappen only just come out on the mediums. But let's see how this one goes. Max now saying that the mediums don't feel spectacular at the moment. Whether they're going to run this now long and then go out into the softs, let's see. That's also a plan, and they'll have the far better tyre there on the softs right at the end. But it does look like the deg is high, so I imagine they will also go for the hards. But Max was sort of sceptical of that when the two Mercedes went on hard. Didn't think they'd be fast enough, but it's proving that they are, especially on the two Mercedes. Alonso pulled it off early up. He's up to 8th place now, ahead of his teammate Ocon. So the top 10 as it stands on lap 40 is Verstappen first, Charles Leclerc second, Hamilton third, Russell fourth, Perez fifth, Sainz sixth, Norris seventh, Alonso 8th, Ocon 9th, and Yuki Tsunoda's got that 10th place at the moment. He's about 5 seconds ahead of Stroll, who's on the harder tyres. Yuki Tsunoda on the mediums. So let's see how that plays out up there at the top. But it's fairly tight. There's not a massive gap at the moment. I mean, obviously there is at the front with Max Verstappen pulling about 10 seconds ahead of Leclerc, and then Hamilton's about 6 seconds behind or 7 seconds behind Leclerc. So a lead from Hamilton, who looks like he's fighting for the win today, is about 18 seconds as it's. So we've just had a virtual safety car with a bit of a strange one there from Yuki Tsunoda. He came in a couple of laps early and then started complaining that there was an issue with the tyre. The team radio stopped on track. They looked like we'd have a virtual safety car or safety car on lap 46. Team then came on the radio and said, actually, there's nothing wrong with the tyre, just keep going. And then he slowly made it back round to the pits, couple of laps down then about that stage, and then came in, pitted again, and then went on to a different set of tyres. They weren't messing around with sort of what looked like the seat belt in his car. He went out again, looked like we'd be fine. Obviously what that means for the front runners was that basically if you pit under a virtual safety car, you lose less time, which would have been key for Max Verstappen. Obviously he could have pitted early, and then potentially could have come out ahead of the two Mercedes because you lose less time, and he had the gap to Mercedes, and that would have been crucial for him, and obviously we would have lost what would have been a big moment in the race here. But obviously this didn't work out that way, unfortunately. But let's see how it clears up now. So we're back green racing on lap 50. We've got 72 laps to go. So what we saw was obviously Max Verstappen pitted on the virtual safety car. He went for the hard tyres. The two Mercedes then double stacked and they've gone onto the medium tyres. So we've got a deficit there of Max on the hards, Lewis on the mediums, so maybe that might work in the Mercedes' favour. They can just go for the win now, and that's what it's going to come down to. What's the better tyre here now? Or is it the mediums to the end with only 22 laps to go, or is it the hards? I mean, we've seen how good the hards were on Alonso, and obviously the two Mercedes, whilst they were on the hards, sort of really putting the pressure on Red Bull there. So they've kind of got one away with that, Red Bull there. Especially with that virtual safety car, comes sort of at the perfect time for them, which is a bit of a shame we didn't see that pan out. But let's see how this plays out now. We've got 22 laps or 21 laps. I think this will just be qualifying laps from the two Mercedes, and also from Max Verstappen, because these hards are going to make it to the end, no problem. The virtual car, as Hamilton just come on the radio, sort of said it's kind of stuffed them, which is really disappointing, to be honest. So where it stands at the moment, we've got Max Verstappen first, Hamilton second, Russell third, Charles Leclerc in fourth, Perez fifth, Ocon sixth. He's pulled out quite well there. Sainz in 7th, Norris 8th, Alonso 9th, and Stroll 10th. Norris and Alonso did pit, so they're on the softs now, so let's see how they pan out. It'll be interesting to see if they can make it to the end and how quick they'll be. They could be the movers towards the end. Ocon looks like he didn't pit, he's just stayed on his hards, which is probably, let's see how it goes, because considering he's probably not been in there long. Alonso puts in the fastest lap of the race. So yeah, the Mercedes team onto Hamilton there, just saying, look, lighter fuel load, we can push to the end, and let's try and get this win. So 20 laps to go. Is he going to be fast enough or faster than the Red Bull now? We could end up for a tight race. Let's see how it plays out. We've got 20 laps, so there's enough time for Hamilton really, but it's whether these mediums are that much faster than the hards. So what a crazy end to the Dutch Grand Prix there. On lap 60, the safety car came out. Bottas grinded to the halt at the end of the pit straight. And then it was a bit of a mess there from Mercedes, really. Verstappen obviously pitted, he was on the softs. Lewis Hamilton stayed out. They called George Russell in on the softs. So Verstappen made the pass or made the move on Russell there for the restart. He was ahead of him. Strange that Mercedes didn't pit Lewis Hamilton. He was quite upset there on the team radio at the end, asking why he didn't pit him. Because he was just a sitting duck then on the mediums. He's the only person on the mediums at the end. Everyone else pitted for softs, apart from Perez as well, actually, just to point that one out. And yeah, that sort of screwed Hamilton over for the win. It looked like potentially was coming back again. Well, it went away from them under the virtual safety car, came back under the safety car again, and then yeah, bad call from Mercedes there. I'm not sure why they didn't call Hamilton there in on the start. Would have been a race there with them two fighting up front on equal tyres, but again, it was an easy move, good move from Verstappen on the restart, got him very early on. Didn't think that would happen, but I mean, with these tyre differences, we've seen that, and Red Bull is clearly the superior car. It was the faster car throughout the race, even though Mercedes were right up there, and I think Hamilton kind of might have felt that this was kind of a race they could have won just about. I mean, it would have been tight defending Verstappen off at the end, but it just didn't quite work out. To rub salt in the wounds, then Russell passed Hamilton also, and then same with Charles Leclerc. So it was a top one of Verstappen, George Russell, Charles Leclerc, and Lewis Hamilton there in fourth. We then had a fight with Sainz and Perez. Sainz then got a 5-second penalty. So even though he finished ahead of Perez or held him off to the end, he's got 5 seconds penalty. But because of the safety car and it was so bunched up at the end there, he fell back down to P8. So it was Sergio Perez in 5th place. Alonso, brilliant race for him in 6th. Norris 7th, so an excellent race for him as well. Carlos Sainz finished obviously in P8. Ocon in the top 9, in the top 10, and Stroll again for another weekend gets the last point in 10th place there for him. So brilliant result for them. The 3 stars really, obviously Max just kept it in there, and considering how far off his teammate is, he's just absolutely pulling that Red Bull around everywhere. George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, obviously Hamilton will be disappointed where he's ended up, but what a great race, and for both of them, excellent. It's a bit odd for Mercedes. They normally miss the consistencies and don't get all the calls right. Just didn't quite work out for them today. The stars really, well, let's start at the front with Mercedes. Good result with George. Will be disappointed with Hamilton. I'm sure Hamilton obviously will see what happens with that. Team will explain that a bit later on. The Red Bulls, Verstappen got it right, got all the right calls there for Red Bull on the tyres at the right time. Obviously the virtual safety car and the red safety car sort of fell for them at the right time there. Ferrari were just not fast wherever they pulled. I mean, Charles Leclerc did right at the end, and he managed to get the 3rd place. So a decent result from him. It didn't look like that was possible for much of the race. It looked like they'd finished behind Max and the 2 Mercedes. So a good comeback there for Ferrari with Charles Leclerc. Sainz obviously had the issue, and then the incident in the pits, which got him this 5-second place. He would have finished 5th, but man falls back to 8th. Alpine, Alonso, absolutely brilliant for him. P6. Alpine have been right on it. Bit strange that he's leaving them next season, considering how well they've raced. The sort of top four now. Battle with McLaren continues. Ocon obviously getting more points back there in 9th place. McLaren, bit of a mixed race for him. Lando Norris absolutely on it. Brilliant result for him, getting up to 7th place. Some good points for him, especially considering Ricciardo, he finished in 17th, so bit of a poor one for him. Haas, unfortunately, Mick Schumacher fell backwards. He did qualify really well in the yesterday, but didn't quite work out for him in the race today. And then Magnussen had the issue, which caused the first virtual safety car. A bit disappointing there with that one. And yeah, what a race. It was to-ing and fro-in. A lot of strategy calls got pulled here and there. I mean, you had to be really on your toes, especially with all the safety cars and virtual safety cars coming out. And Red Bull got that right and got the win. But what a difference a week makes. I mean, last weekend we at Belgium, Red Bull Max was on a race on his own. We both got 1-2 in the end, didn't they? So it was really close. I wasn't sure who was going to win this race, and I think that's what made it so tight and tense. Kept the excitement going throughout the race weekend here. So off to Italy next, a track that I love. See you next weekend. So we've got 3 races in a row here. So absolutely brilliant. Really looking forward to exciting times. Thank you very much for watching. See you on the next video.